Go.
Right, so this week we're talking about the endocrine system, and its job is to secrete hormones. Um, and it regulates a myriad of body processes, like your metabolism, your growth hormone, um, growth and development, stress hormones, sex functions, sugar and minerals, homeostasis, heart rate, digestion, production, reproduction, sleep, and mood. It also affects every cell and every organ in the body by controlling critical systems. So, obviously, this is a female body, but um, it affects, the parts include your pituitary gland, your thyroid, your parathyroid, adrenal glands, pancreas, testes in males, ovaries in females. And next week, we're talking the reproductive system. I know I just said hormone system, but we're talking reproductive systems next week. So we're going to talk about conditions and recommendations associated with the endocrine system today. So as always, I'm not a doctor. I don't treat, I don't diagnose or prescribe. So this is just educational purposes today. And we're going to start with adrenal fatigue, which is huge. I feel like I address this a lot inside my Facebook group and with clients. So your adrenal hormones control things like cortisol and aldosterone. And actually, I was just reading that book that's actually super interesting because I felt like half the book really addressed adrenals and adrenal fatigue. But it really plays a key role in regulating your blood pressure, digestion, metabolism, and how your body responds to stress. It also really plays a key role in like depression and anxiety and that sort of thing. But when your brain registers a threat, the body releases an adrenaline hormone to help you react, known as the fight or flight response. And this adrenal cortex then releases corticosteroids to inhibit the process of digestion, the immune system response, and other functions necessary for immediate survival. So your adrenals in your body do not know the difference between a saber-toothed tiger is chasing me and I'm under a deadline at work. It doesn't know the difference. So when you're under that stress, all of those other functions, like your only job is get to safety. It's not, oh, let me just digest that donut you just ate, or let me just let the immune system kick in. It's not doing those things. It's just getting you to safety. So it's supposed to be this quick get to safety, go back to normal. But we live in a world where we're under chronic stress all the time. So it's elevated all the time and it affects every part of our body. So um, adrenal fatigue occurs when the body and the adrenal glands can't keep up with the amount of daily stress that people experience. And those unnecessary functions become largely neglected for extended periods of time. So there is a lot of, just like when we look at a lot of autoimmune type issues with adrenal fatigue, there's a lot of crossover, right? So even when you're looking at root causes, like, well, which came first, the chicken or egg? Because there's so much here that is involved, right? But common symptoms when you're having adrenal fatigue can be weight gain, insomnia, reduced sex drive, body aches, trouble concentrating, racing thoughts, irritability, constantly feeling tired, hormone imbalance, and food cravings. And very, very frequently, people with most autoimmune diseases also have adrenal fatigue. Okay. Oh, so I'm sorry, I thought it was going to switch. So tonic herbs help by protecting and strengthening the adrenal glands to help the glands manage excessive stress and regulate the release of stress response hormones such as cortisol, which is then in turn prevents problems such as fatigue. You'll notice most of these are adaptogens because what do adaptogens do? They address stress, right? So ashwagandha is especially good at balancing cortisol levels and helping the adrenals to adjust to stress. Licorice root supports the adrenal cortex, the part of the gland that produces hormones, helping to balance cortisol levels to manage the stress response. Skullcap is another adaptogen that has a relaxing tonic effect on the nerves that is affected by chronic stress, fatigue, and exhaustion. And we know that there's a direct link with our gut and our gut microbiome. So probiotics are going to help the gut cope with the stress as well because when we're under that stress and things aren't working, that bad bacteria is going to creep up. So this is going to help keep things balanced. And B vitamins, which are actually in several of our Soul products, play an important role in cell metabolism and energy production. So there's a number of essential oils that can support the nervous system and other factors associated with the adrenal fatigue. And we've talked about this a little bit before, is that, you know, there's several essential oils that cross that mind-body barrier. So it helps affect the brain. So even just smelling certain scents can help have a calming effect on the whole body, which then can, it can calm the stress, which then can help with your adrenals. So holy basil is also another adaptogen, helps to soothe anxiety. It's shown to regulate serum cortisol levels, which can impact the immune function, memory, learning, mood, and weight. Rosemary helps balance cortisol levels, boost mood, and support healthy memory. Clove, a powerful inflammation cooling agent that can help you boost energy. And rose is shown to promote calm, relaxation, and to balance blood pressure. I think the only one that's not in our blends is rose. Rose is actually one of the most expensive essential oils in the world. I can't remember how many actual roses or rose petals it takes to make one drop of rose, but it's a lot. So it's the most expensive. Definitely some lifestyle habits. Reducing stress. I always like to say that's easier said than done, because a lot of times, like, you didn't just think your way into a stress response. So you can't just think your way out of a stress response. You can't just be like, just stop stressing out, because that's not how it works. But there's definitely some things that you can do, some relaxation techniques such as meditation or spending some time in nature, definitely going to help. We know that the use of adaptogens on a regular basis definitely help as well. Establishing a regular sleep routine. In fact, our bodies, especially if you're dealing with adrenal fatigue, it likes consistency. That means going to bed at the same time every night, waking up at the same time every day. And even if you're so exhausted, it seems like so hard to wake up.
Really?
It's better to wake up at the same time every day.
Well, come get your bagel.
Or that sort of thing, so that you're having some a regular sleep pattern, and making sure that you're getting that 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and probably closer to 9 if you're really struggling with adrenal health. Okay, so depression is common, but it can be serious. It's a mood disorder caused by the changes in brain chemistry. Depression affects quality of life and can raise the risk of stroke, diabetes, heart disease, and early death. Depression causes severe symptoms that affect how a person feels, thinks, and handles daily activities. Symptoms can include fatigue, sadness, low sex drive, lack of appetite, feelings of helplessness, disinterest in common activities. Research indicates that other factors contribute to the onset of depression, including genetics, changes in hormone levels, certain medical conditions, stress, grief, or difficult life circumstances. Antidepressant medications have serious side effects and can include suicidal thoughts, weight gain, my personal favorite, and personality changes. What's worse, studies have shown that antidepressants fail to resolve the symptoms of major depression in half of treated patients. So, restorative balancing herbs act on the nervous system, while tonic digestive herbs support the neurotransmitters, helping to lift mood and increase vitality. So St. John's wort, which is in our adaptable, it's also in our AC cream. But when we're dealing with depression, we want to be taking it internally. It's a proven antidepressant that's for mild to moderate depression. And there's actually been tons of scientific studies and research on St. John's wort and its connection to depression. Rhodiola, another adaptogen, is a strengthening tonic that helps lift depression and balance the mood. Damiana, which is the new herb that was added to our maca, is a stimulating and restorative, enhancing vitality in both mind and body. Also, the importance of taking omegas because they're high in that EPA, which is critical for healthy neurotransmitter function, and a really important compound in emotional and physiological brain balance. B vitamins, especially B12 and folic acid, and we know that those are in our ProBio IQ. I didn't put ProBio on here, but I mean, I could have probably had a whole other slide of herbs and supplements, but we also know that there's a direct connection to your gut health and depression. But we know that B12 and folic acid is in our ProBio IQ, and it will help boost chemicals that affect the mood. And of course, vitamin D. So a vitamin D supplement in the body, which can support healthy mood and outlook. Most people probably don't get enough vitamin D. And yes, you can get it from some food sources. You mostly get it from being out, in the sun and that sort of thing. But I think that's why we see a lot of seasonal depression disorder, especially in people that live in places that are more dark or overcast in the winter, because they don't get enough vitamin D. So there is a little bit of vitamin D in our Neuro IM, but sometimes it's not enough to fully supplement, and sometimes you need something additional. I know Chris's recommend pure encapsulations, which I was using when I was seeing a chiropractor years ago. Then I switched to something else and I went back to pure encapsulation. So if you think you need a vitamin D supplement, I know that's what she recommends. That's also what I recommend to my clients. Okay, so essential oils, some have been proven as antidepressants. Once again, it's that crossing that blood-brain barrier that is super helpful. So even just having, oils diffusing in your house or, applying them to the skin, they can really help change your mood and how you're feeling. So bergamot can create feelings of joy and energy by boosting circulation of the blood. Bergamot, I think that is in one of our blends. I meant to go back and add this stuff. Forgot again this week. I'm sorry. But it's a citrus plant. It's in the same family as like a lime or a lemon. They're kind of smaller and they look like that, but it smells amazing. I know people that have used it as perfume. I have in the past too, because it smells so good, but you have to be careful if you go out in the sun because you can get sunburnt if you have that on, especially in the summertime. Ylang ylang, which is actually one of my favorites. It is not in our blends, but it smells, I just think it smells amazing. It definitely smells like a really expensive, very nice perfume. I can't wear perfumes at all anymore with my fibro. I can't even be in a car with somebody that has wearing perfume. But I would wear, I actually still have it. I just don't put it on very often, that I don't leave the house. But ylang ylang quite a bit as a perfume, but it acts as a mild sedative and can lower stress response, such as an increased heartbeat and high blood pressure. Lavender is known to help positively address neurological issues. It can also help with insomnia and headaches. Roman chamomile, inhaling can just smelling that, just deep inhaling of Roman chamomile could lessen anxiety in general and improve your mood and mental outlook. So all of these, with an exception of ylang ylang, are in our blends. Another thing that I had learned when I was going through my essential oil certification is that, especially when it's dealing with depression or grief, you take that oil and you literally put an X over your heart with it. And it's almost like, I don't know what, but I remember doing that because I feel like there's like this connection to like your heart and your mind, and I can't remember the exact connection, but there's like a connection there. So you can also apply it to your feet. You could be distilling it, but putting like putting it directly right over your heart. It's very helpful, especially when you're dealing with depression. So the risk of depression can drop with higher intakes of folate, monounsaturated fats, omega-3 fatty acids, and selenium. So oily fish, Holly was making salmon last night, high in omega-3 fatty acids, which have brain-boosting chemicals. They can help lower depression rates and may increase the effectiveness of conventional antidepressants. Sprouted green bread is not Richard. Oh, that's what it says on my, it's not there. I was like, why do I have Richard? Is rich. I don't know why it says that. Boosting fiber and other nutrients. So one slice provides more than half of the daily selenium requirements. Spinach, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, and dried legumes are all high in folate. You want to avoid especially highly processed sugars, like they're in refined cereals and donuts, fried and fast food, processed meats, and alcohol. And as far as lifestyle goes, exercise and time outdoors. Exercise actually boosts your serotonin, and of course, that time outdoor restores your vitamin D levels. Yoga and meditation help lift mood. There's actually several studies that talk about meditation and how it really helps with your mood and calming stress. It also can have it can also relieve pain if you deal with like chronic pain like I do. So it has a lot of beneficial things to it. Counseling and psychotherapy can also be highly effective. Oh, my favorite, hypothyroidism. Like in the book, it just addresses the hypo, but not the hyper, but probably should address both. But anyway, because I was thinking about that last night when Charisse posted something about hyper. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Why when I went through the book was that not in there? So the thyroid gland produces hormones to regulate the body's temperature and energy. A hyperactive thyroid speeds up your metabolism, okay? While an underactive thyroid slows down mental and physical functions. So hypothyroidism is a condition related to have an underactive thyroid gland that doesn't properly make or release thyroid hormones. And the thyroid gland normally releases many crucial hormones that travel through the bloodstream and reach receptors that are found throughout the body. So a disturbance in the thyroid function can cause widespread, noticeable health problems. What's interesting is that the thyroid and the adrenals, like they all work together. It's not like they work separately. So it's not really surprising to me when somebody's like, oh, I have a low functioning thyroid or I have Hashimoto's. And then I also think I have adrenal fatigue because they affect each other. And like we know that it's not just like this one and done type of thing. It sets off this chain effect because they work together to regulate, your metabolism and your mood and your energy and all of that. So it's not really common. I mean, it's pretty common, but that they're actually totally related. Now, hypothyroidism is a low functioning thyroid. Hashimoto's is different. I have people say, oh, I have a low functioning, and so that must be Hashimoto's. No, Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease. It does have very similar properties, but it's different. Like a low functioning thyroid, you can usually change and improve that. Hashimoto's it's your body literally attacking itself, and it's much more complicated, if that makes sense. So yes, it'll lower your thyroid or whatever, but it is different. So it's just like a more severe version. So untreated hypothyroidism for a long time can lead to an autoimmune of Hashimoto's, if that makes sense. All right, where was I at? So common symptoms of a hypothyroidism include slow metabolism, poor digestion, low energy levels, increased carbohydrate cravings, trouble sleeping, depression, thinning hair, my favorite, when my hair falls out in clumps, and signs of accelerated aging. I already know that my thyroid needs serious help when my husband is complaining about the clogged, the hair everywhere and the clogged shower drains, because it can be pretty bad. Thyroid hormones are really unique and designed specifically to absorb and utilize iodine. So as far as supplements go, herbs can help rebalance the thyroid and treat symptoms. Ashwagandha helps hypothyroidism patients significantly increase thyroxine hormone levels, which can reduce the severity of the disorder. Maca root helps stabilize the thyroid hormone levels, supports thyroid production, as well as hypothalamus and pituitary gland. It helps with low energy associated with hypothyroidism. It's an adaptogen and it helps the body adapt to daily stressors. Also, iodine and selenium. These are two supplements. You can also get these, you can supplement them in your food. They help promote healthy thyroid function. If you have an autoimmune disease such as Hashimoto's, you do need to consult with a doctor before taking iodine. Okay. So when Charisse was asking last night about hyperthyroidism, that is kind of like the amazing thing about adaptogens, is because the maca, what adaptogens can do is they can come into the body and they can kind of figure out what's at the root cause or what's causing things, and they balance it out. And so this was the thing that was so amazing to me, or kind of hard for me to understand. It's like, I don't understand how you could take the same thing for hypothyroid and hyperthyroid and have it do the same thing. But that's just what adaptogens do. So taking the maca, taking something with the, like the vital or the adaptive, that's going to help balance those out. And so, and on the opposite side of that, what I talked about, Hashimoto's, Graves is the autoimmune condition related to the hyperthyroid. So once again, hyper untreated for long periods of time can lead to the autoimmune condition, if that makes sense. So a lot of people with Graves have to have their, I guess it's always your choice, but they have their thyroid removed because it's so overactive, and there's other symptoms that go along with that as well. All right, so essential oils. There are some oils that definitely work well with hypothyroid. In fact, even applying the oils directly over your thyroid here are very helpful. There's definitely the flex points on your feet and that sort of thing. It was interesting because the other day, just because this came up, somebody, I can't remember who it was, posted like a reflex chart of your feet and said, oh, we should have this with sole, which is great. That's a reflexology sheet. But the thing is, oils work so well, you don't have to put it on those exact reflexology parts on your feet for it to be effective. You could just put it anywhere on your feet because it'll quickly cross that blood, get into the bloodstream. So it's not as like, now if you were doing actual reflexology or you were doing some acupuncture on the feet, that needs to be more precise. But with oils, it actually doesn't have to be that precise. So just applying them to your feet are going to be really helpful. So holy basil is an adaptogen. It works to balance cortisol levels, which we talked about before. It promotes a healthy response to stress and promotes healthy thyroid hormones. Myrrh has hormone balancing properties and cools systematic excessive inflammation. So when we're usually having a hypo or hyperthyroidism, there is some inflammation in the body involved, right? So this is going to help calm that inflammation. Lemongrass also soothes the inflammation and balances insulin, which supports thyroid function, and chamomile improves thyroid health, helping to reduce the effects of stress and promote restful sleep. I can't remember if myrrh, I don't think myrrh is in any of our blends, but all three of the other ones are in our blends. And like I said, applying them to your feet, even just diffusing them, or literally applying it directly over to the throat. So even when, Lydia's videos, when she talks about how to use it, she tells you, do it like this and then put it on your feet. But you're actually applying it directly over your thyroid. gland, which is actually going to have some amazing benefits. So as far as lifestyle and diet, avoiding PFCs. So those are chemicals that are used to manufacture nonstick pans and stain-resistant fabrics because they raise the risk of hyperthyroidism. You know what's really interesting is that, I don't know, it was like right after I got married that I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and I was like, what the heck, how does this happen? And then the more I talk to people, it is so common, especially in women. And I do think, and I've read some things, there's a direct link with the kind of like toxins in our environment, right? We have more toxins available, like in anything, like in our cleaning products, and obviously like what we're cooking with, and than ever before. And I think that there's definitely a direct connection. Smoking can actually worsen symptoms that occur with an underactive thyroid. Once again, de-stressing the body, especially if you're dealing with severe stress or grief. It can actually affect your thyroid function. I will tell you that my thyroid is usually pretty good and pretty stabilized. And then I go through extreme, like when my father-in-law passed away a couple of years ago, oh my gosh, my hair was falling out in clumps and clumps and clumps. And it was all over the place. And so just dealing with that grief and that bereavement really affected my thyroid function. Practicing yoga, several positions may help thyroid function, and acupuncture combined with the burning herbs called moxie. Moxie actually has a bigger word, but they help normalize your thyroid function. That was probably one of the best things I did for my overall health, not just this, but I started about a year and a half ago doing acupuncture on the regular, and I was a little skeptical for a while, but it has helped a lot. So with a lot of my stuff. All right, so as far as foods go, seaweed for hypothyroidism provides the iodine and the micronutrients needed for proper metabolism of iodine in the body. Buckwheat is rich in selenium and B vitamins to calm hypothyroidism. I don't know if you guys have ever had buckwheat, but my father-in-law used to make these buckwheat pancakes, and they were kind of a purpley blue color. Remember when we were dating and Mike was living with his parents for a while, just before he bought the first house. And we were over there and I was like, what's with the blue pancakes? But they're really, really, really good. I actually miss them. I should probably make them, but he would make them all the time, these buckwheat. Then we'd go up to the mountains with my in-laws and we'd make the buckwheat pancakes. And they were so good, but they're like blue, but they're really yummy. Brazil nuts provide selenium, which is essential for activating the main thyroid hormone. And in fact, just like 2 or 3 like Brazil nuts a day will actually give you enough selenium for the entire day, like what you need for the day. Things to avoid: raw turnips, cabbage, mustard, pine nuts, cassava root, soybeans. Soy is a huge one that needs to be avoided with thyroid. Peanuts, millet, they can all interfere with the absorption of iodine, which then in turn affects the thyroid. Refined carbohydrates may feed an overactive thyroid, and iodized salt can lead to excess iodine in the body. All right, now we're going to talk about prostatitis. So the prostate is a small gland in the male reproductive system. With advanced age, many men experience a decline in prostate health, which can range from enlarged prostate to more serious conditions with prostate cancer. Prevention through the attention of diet and lifestyle is important to continue for continued health. Natural remedies can play a role in protecting the health of the prostate. Prostatitis is often described as an infection of the prostate. It can also be inflammation with no infection. So how the prostate becomes infected is not really entirely clear. It could be a cause of bad bacteria that causes the prostatitis. that gets into the prostate from the urethra by backflow of infected urine or stool from the rectum. Common symptoms include frequent urge to urinate, difficulty urinating, chills, fever, pain, or burning during urination. Kind of sounds like a UTI. So there's certain herbs, hormone regulating herbs help to limit prostate enlargement. What herbs that herbs that tone tissue and reduce irritation and inflammation, or soothe and reduce the frequency and urgency of urination, and antimicrobial herbs to help fight infection. There are also some supplements that can support with a healthy diet to ensure that you're receiving sufficient amounts of key nutrients to help support a healthy prostate. So turmeric is a powerful inflammation cooling compound. Nettle root relieves pain and helps limit prostate enlargement by reducing inflammation causing chemicals in the body. Zinc is actually in several of our products. So if I were to go through, like when I go through to the the Trello board we created, we put zinc, like it's like boom, 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 like it's a lot of stuff. So that's why the first time I tried to list everything, I was like, oh, this is too much. It's in a lot of our stuff. So, but it inhibits the activity of enzyme called 5-alpha reductase, which is linked to prostate problems. Once again, vitamin D is linked to lower risk of prostate cancer. So even taking a vitamin D supplement or making sure you're out in the sun enough, that sort of thing. Evening primrose oil. Now that I say this out loud, is that primrose? Does anybody know? Is that in one of our oils? But anyway, the evening primrose oil is an omega-6 fatty acid that helps the body produce prostaglandins. I think I said that right. Which in turn keeps the testosterone from binding to the prostate, which can reduce the risk of prostate cancer. Essential oils like rosemary help lower what's called DHT, cannot say that word, which helps improve hair growth and prostate health. So that's actually helpful. At first I was like hair growth, but now I remember like it, especially like in men that also have like male pattern baldness or receding hairlines, it actually can help with that. Frankincense, which is shown to also cool inflammation associated with prostatitis. Thyme and oregano, both of those compounds are found to be highly effective against one of the most known bacterial causes in prostatitis causes. And these oils, every single one of them were found in one of our blends. As far as lifestyle goes, exercise to improve fitness and lose weight to lower your risk of prostate enlargement, reducing stress, and getting some daily sun. As far as diet goes, whole foods and plant-based diets can help reduce inflammation and maintain prostate health. Tomatoes, which I thought this was pretty interesting, are rich in nutrients lycopene, which has been known to slow down the prostate enlargement and prevent the condition of benign prostatic hyperplasma, which is BPH, which leads to an enlarged prostate. Other lycopene foods include watermelon, pink grapefruit, guava, and papaya. Green tea has been shown to help improve the urine flow and inflammation in men with enlarged prostates. Broccoli, kale, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts have the compound sulforaphane, which is beneficial to prevent cancer, including prostate cancer. And pomegranate juice is high in protective antioxidants to support prostate health and may also help to slow the progression of prostate cancer. So some things to avoid: excessive alcohol intake can damage prostate health. Sugar is linked to inflammation in the body, including the prostate. Red and very well done meat increases the risk of prostate cancer, so you want to limit your intake of red meats. Okay, so weight and obesity. There's an increasingly awareness of many factors that play behind weight gain and obesity. And it really is a hormone factor. Your metabolism is a hormone. metabolism is affected by your hormones. We know that your adrenals play a role, your thyroid plays a role. It's an imbalance in the body. And so emotional disorders, environmental chemicals, lack of sleep, all can contribute to weight gain, including autoimmune disorders, medication. There is so much involved. And so it's a lot more than what diet culture is just like, oh, if you're a little overweight, you're just indulging yourself all the time. I mean, obviously there are people that eat very unhealthy, and this is part of the problem. But a lot of times it means it's a body out of balance. And so that's why I teach all the time, like if your gut is out of balance, guess what? You're not going to have lasting sustainable weight loss. If you have hormones out of balance, you will not have lasting hormonal, yes, you can go down to 1,200 calories a day and exercise 5 hours a day and lose some weight, but that's not sustainable. So until you bring that body back into balance, until you address the gut, until you address the hormones, we're not going to see any effect, right? So there's just so many different factors involved than just eat less and move more, right? But there are certain herbs that can help boost digestion, because that's definitely part of the equation. Balance your blood sugar levels, also part of the equation. Support the endocrine health and enhance vitality in mind and body. And certain herbal supplements can also be used to aid in metabolism and reduce cravings. I will say that one of the things I love that Lydia said when we were doing trainings with her is what she says is, if your body needs to reduce weight, once you've brought these things into balance, it will. Because I think also there's so many people that are actually not overweight. They think they're overweight, but they're really not. And so they have these unrealistic expectations of like, oh, well, when I was in the 6th grade, I weighed this, and so I should weigh that as a grown adult. Well, that's unrealistic, right? So definitely some things that can help. All of these herbs are in a lot of our products. So first of all, nettle is a cleansing blood tonic. It also helps balance blood sugars, detoxify and strengthen and energize the body. Fennel seed is a common digestive tonic that can help reduce appetite cravings. Siberian ginseng, also known as eleuthero, is a tonic that increases energy levels, stamina, and alertness. Schisandra, a liver tonic, stimulates the nerves and nervous system and energizes the body. And cinnamon can be used to help regulate blood sugar. Now, these were the things that just came out of my book. And I know like we did a whole series all about Power Chi, but Power Chi is really amazing for balancing out the hormones and the metabolism and that sort of thing as well, and everything that's inside that. Essential oils are also really great with this. So essential oils such as cinnamon, which is in our lift oils, contains a compound called cinnamaldehyde, which promotes healthy blood sugar balance. So even just smelling cinnamon, there's actually been studies that actually if you just smell, like if you're having like sugar cravings where you're like, oh my gosh, I just need a cookie, just smelling cinnamon will help reduce those sugar cravings. Grapefruit also reduces cravings for sweets and boosts metabolism. Same thing. However, grapefruit should not be used with certain, I don't think grapefruit is in any of our oils, just because you should not be using grapefruit with certain medications. It can interfere, especially with heart-related medications. So you have to be careful with that. Ginger helps cool excess inflammation and improve digestion, and black pepper warms the body and stimulates the metabolism to start working. Obviously, eating plenty of fresh, plant-based whole foods and drinking plenty of water aids the body in weight loss and bringing all of those things into balance. Getting sufficient sleep. Tiredness leads to poor food choices and I have a major typo here, that anyway helps regulate hormones that aid in metabolism. So what a lot of people don't, like, sleep is so important, because I don't know what the turkey is in there for. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's been a week. So when we are sleeping, that is when your body does all of the repair that it needs to do. So if we're not sleeping enough and we're not getting good quality sleep, then yeah, that's going to interfere with our weight because it can't release any of the stuff that it needs to release, including like flushing fat from your body if you're not sleeping well enough. Remove carcinogens. So heavy metals and chemicals found in things like plastics, fragrance, flame retardants have been shown to promote weight gain. So there's lots of other chemicals and stuff that can lead to that. And what to avoid, diet or light foods. It used to think like, oh, if I just had diet Coke or light yogurt or fat-free, but the reality is these diet foods or these light foods are often highly processed, added chemicals, added sugar, added salt in order to give it the same kind of flavor and texture as the real deal, which we now know is linked to lots of health issues, including obesity. And artificial sweeteners also promote weight gain. One of my first programs that I ever put out was, I called it Sweet Success. So we talked about sugar and we talked about healthy sugar versus the unhealthy sugar, and how many people are like, they think, oh, artificial sweeteners don't like have the same effects. They actually have worse effects because they trick your brain into thinking, oh, I'm going to get sugar, and then it doesn't get sugar. So it raises your insulin levels anticipating sugar, and when it doesn't get it, you go on a crash. So then you're craving more sugars, and what people are doing is then eating more artificial sweeteners, and we know that they're full of carcinogens and other things that are super unhealthy, and it creates this really bad cycle. So this is just me, I'll just say this, but it drives me crazy. Like my stepdad is diabetic, that his doctors and everybody he sees is like, it's fine, you can eat your Jell-O, you can eat your desserts, just make sure it's sugar-free. And I'm like, with artificial sweeteners, and then they wonder why his levels are always through the roof. And he's like, I'm just doing artificial sweeteners. I'm like, stop doing those too. So I'm like, oh my gosh, stop telling people that. That's horrible. Like, just get them off the sugar. Okay, so anyway, next week we're going to talk about the reproductive system. And as always, if you have some testimonials about anything we talked about today, I'd love it if you'd come off mute and talk about those things. I was just thinking, I'm like, I feel like every week I have something like, oh, this is my problem, or this has been a problem for me, the joys of autoimmune issues. But if you had anything you wanted to share or questions that you had, now would be a good time to do that.
Tiffany, I love that you touched on adrenal fatigue, because especially with the way of the world today, I'm like seeing that, like you can just tell by looking at people's faces. And there is so much of that happening. So I love that you touched on that, and just kind of shared like what can help and what can make a difference. And obviously lifestyle changes are equally important to what we put in our body and that kind of stuff. So it's so huge, because people think that they may not be stressed out with what's happening, but it's kind of impossible to not have some level of stress based on the everyday uncertainty of everything constantly changing. So I think it's such a good idea to be able to kind of just be aware of the different things that may be going on and like what to look for.
Yeah, and I have people all the time, they're like, I'm not stressed. But like when you really look, I'm like, there's physical stress and there's emotional stress. And I guaranteed if you have certain things going on, there's definitely stress involved. I wanted to find that book for you guys. I know I showed it to you a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna drive to it. I thought it was in here, but it might have ended up in my bedroom. Oh, here it is. I bought it because it was so pretty. This is a great quick read. So heal your mind, or heal your body, cure your mind. And it really goes into a lot of depth about adrenal fatigue, and especially the connection between anxiety and depression and other disease. It was a great read. He did have like a free like video course that kind of went along with it, which I kind of watched. And it was a really easy read. You know how some health books are like, it's like you're back in science class. This isn't like that. And this is written by this naturopathic doctor. I know Corinne bought this book too. And he has another book. And so she bought that one at the same time. I was like, well, I wanted to read this one first. I'm like, oh, I should have bought that, because now I have to wait for it. But this was really good, especially in addressing all of these things we talked about today. And especially if you deal or suspect you deal with adrenal fatigue. And he does go through here and he talks about Bach flower remedies and how they can help. And he talks about certain herbs and how they can help, and food, that sort of thing. It's a really good, quick read.
That's awesome. Tiffany, was there anything else you wanted to put in before I stopped recording? And we can
Oh,
still.
no, sorry.
Okay,
No.
nope, that's good. All right, awesome. Thank
I
you.
was
Thank you.
I was